Hey guys, I just finished interviewing Brenna Michel, and if you've ever thought that you're not in a position to be able to make more money, there's no way, I'm stuck, my job is miserable, my life's miserable, she's about to show you that it is possible to find a way out. No matter how dire your circumstances are, there is a way out. Listen in.
Is it going to be something that builds? Is it going to be a life-giving interaction in some big or small way? Or are they just going to be an accessory or even an obstacle?
Get yourself uncomfortable. Do something that makes you not want to be there.
Dude, I can't even imagine thinking the way that I used to think.
So we were living parts of our vision and we wanted more of it.
Brenna, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Reese. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so Brenna's husband, Joe Michel, was on episode number 1, and Joe and I, we work on another project of mine together, and Joe's been telling me, you got to get Brenna on the show. You got to get Brenna on the show. So I'm excited to finally get Brenna on and see what she has to say. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I feel special. I'm like, I get to be on a podcast.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do?
So my name's Brenna Michel, and I guess you would say formally I'm a clinical social worker. So that's what my degree and my education is in. I started as a social worker, I probably honestly would say like in high school. It's kind of always been part of my personality. I love helping people. I'm a social butterfly. So for me, it seemed kind of like a natural decision to go into social work. But what they don't really warn you about with social work is that it's a lot of paperwork. And if you don't have what I would call a green personality and are able to stay to doing paperwork and being organized, it's kind of hellish on earth to be a social worker. For someone like me who's kind of I just want to help people. I don't want to do the nitty gritty paperwork stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I got my bachelor's in psychology, being told that, oh, you can get a great job as a social worker and get your license as a social worker with a degree in psychology. That was a lie. You can't. You have to have either a bachelor's in social work or a higher degree. So that left me with no decision but to go to grad school. So I didn't know what else to go to grad school for, so I went for social work. And it's not to say I don't love helping people and I don't love the field of social work, but I got into it and quickly got burnt out on it.
Because of the paperwork?
Paperwork and the demands of a social worker, no matter what area. And a lot of people, when they hear you're a social worker, they're like, oh, so you take people's children away?
Oh.
Like, okay, one, there's more than just children's services with social work. There's a whole variety of what you can do as a social worker. I did clinical counseling for drug and alcohol abuse, which with the opiate epidemic going on in the US the last 6-7 years,
Mm-hmm.
That was a very high stress job. And with all the changes that they've made to Medicare and Medicaid and insurance policies, it's more or less dealing with the red tape that really gets under your skin, because I don't care about the red tape. I just want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to do it within the limitations that are set upon you.
Mm-hmm.
And you also have to do it within the productivity requirements. So you have an 8-hour day, but we want you to schedule 10 people when you see each one an hour, but you only have an 8-hour day. So we want you to schedule 10 people, because not all 10 are going to show. And we want to make sure you're getting as many people seen in a day as possible. And then we went from having 5 days to get a day's worth of paperwork done down to 24 hours.
Mm.
So it was a big adjustment to go from, you have all week to get Monday's paperwork done. Now you have until end of day Tuesday to get all of Monday and Tuesday started too. So
that paperwork goes against your productivity too, right?
Yeah. Paperwork's not productivity. The only thing that you can bill for is face-to-face.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got burnout on the caseload requirement and the pressure, and you're not seeing enough people, you're not billing enough hours. And on top of that, you're dealing with other people's traumas.
Mm-hmm.
So I quickly got burnout in the field. So professionally, I'm a clinical social worker, but I found myself feeling kind of empty. Like
Mm-hmm.
it just wasn't a very fulfilling career for me. So I started looking for other options.
Mm-hmm. So you had paperwork you didn't like, you had red tape, and just crazy hours.
Crazy hours. And I worked 45 minutes one direction from home.
Mm-hmm.
So I live in Louisville, but I worked in Akron, 45-minute drive on a really crazy busy highway. I got not even like car accidents that I caused, it was car accidents that other people hitting me twice in 1 month.
Oh.
So like the expense of gas, the car damage, like the headache, I was just done. I was
Mm-hmm.
breaking down mentally and emotionally, and I was tired of it. I'm like, I was ready to just walk away without any other option because I was so tired of it.
Mm-hmm. Now, the red tape, for those who may not be familiar, that my understanding is that it's almost like them telling you how to do your job, right? Like it's them saying what you cannot do, even though somebody may need it.
Yeah. Like they're saying, well, you can't see this person every week because their insurance is only going to pay for it twice a month. Okay, but this person really needs to see a counselor every week. Well, they can't. Insurance won't pay for it. Or this person really needs to go to residential care, but I can't refer them to residential care because they don't qualify for it under their insurance. So I have to try to treat them at a residential level, even though that's not what I did, but it's what they needed. But because their insurance won't allow it, that's it. It just got to be a real headache. And then dealing with the red tape of, well, you are working 40 hours, but you're not getting, I would work 40 hours, which was really more like 52. And then you had to get 28 hours of face-to-face productivity in every week. Well, when you're working with addicts, they don't always show for their appointments, and that's something you can't help.
Mm-hmm.
So it just got to be too much.
Mm-hmm. And all that goes against what you got into it to begin with, right?
Exactly. I got into it to help people, not to be told, well, you can only help them, but only in this way and in this capacity. And you have to make sure you keep your distance here, and you can't do this, you can't do that. I was over it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's when I just kind of I was looking for another way out, and I felt stuck.
Yeah. So why didn't you just quit?
Income, I had to have a job. I had to have income. I needed to have something. I needed to have health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And it was starting to feel like there was no hope. There was no light at the end of the tunnel. And actually the biggest reason I didn't quit, besides just, it's a paycheck, is student loans. Student loan debt up to my eyeballs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other part that makes me kind of go, I went and got this higher education to get this degree for a career that I've ended up hating. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of kicking myself. So I was stuck in that specific job because it was nonprofit. And in order to qualify for my student loan forgiveness, I had to work in a nonprofit for 10 consecutive years worth of payments. But if I missed 1 month payment, it set me back to zero. So it
sounds like some golden handcuffs if I ever heard any.
Yes, that's exactly what it is they want to keep you working in this low paying nonprofit position, even though you have a master's degree and deserve better pay and better everything. You're not going to get it if you want the student loan forgiveness. It's a real bad cycle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So did you try a few different things, or what were you thinking?
I tried looking into other areas of social work to work in. I started looking for different jobs, but the big thing that I got into that I'm still in now is starting my own business. Multi-level marketing, network marketing. To some people, they might see that and think, it's a scam or it's a joke or people don't really make money. And I will say I used to be one of those people who thought that. But my cousin Tavia, I've been watching her on Facebook for probably 6-8 months, following her and her journey with her business. And I didn't really pay much mind to it at first until she started posting pictures of her dream kitchen. She goes, guys, the contractor needs final plans for the kitchens. Which one should I choose, A or B? I'm like, wait, what do you mean you have final decisions? You're building that? They built their dream home and it is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I looked at her kitchen and about cried. Like, oh, I dream of a kitchen like that. And she was building this house. She called it the house that the wraps built. If you've never heard of It Works, we're a health and wellness company, and our flagship product is our body contouring wrap. And so I started watching her a little bit closer. Like, so she's building a house with this business? She kidding, right? No, she was actually to a point where she was making a monthly 5-figure income from this business.
Wow.
And that's when I was like, well, I could try one of those wraps, just see what it's like. And tried a body wrap. And I honestly can't even remember if it worked or not, because I wasn't really concerned with the product. In my head, I was just thinking, she's paying for an entire house. She's paying for an entire house with a business she works from her phone on Facebook. That's possible? Like, that blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that's when I decided it was worth the investment to start my own business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a little over 2 years now.
Now, were you trying other things before you stumbled across that, or?
Yes. Okay. So, I'm not much of a organized, like, my husband's very organized, lists, try things. Like, we're total opposite. I mean, you laugh because it's true.
He's a machine.
He's a machine. He is a machine. Yeah. And there's some days it drives me nuts. But other days I just stand in awe because he's so organized and methodical. And I'm so not that. I'm a very creative person. So I tried a couple of different crafty things of my own business. When Joe and I got married, I made a bunch of the stuff for our own wedding. Like, I made a bunch of the centerpieces and crafts and things for the decorations. So everyone's like, oh, these are so cute. You should try selling these. So I was like, okay. So I tried making different wedding items and selling them at wedding vendor things. But then I quickly realized that I'm not as craft gifted as other people who have a lot of money to invest into really expensive materials and are just straight up better artists than me. And the cost of all the materials, you end up not being able to make much profit. So that went by the wayside. Then I saw something about making bottle lamps out of like liquor bottles. So I did that for a while. I made lamps and was selling those. But again, product cost, profit, the margins were too tight. That flopped. I love quilting. So I had a bunch of people like, they loved my quilts and they wanted me to make quilts for them. But I was smart and I priced everything out. And I said, okay, if you want me to make you this size quilt, it's going to cost you $650. I'm not paying that much for a quilt. Well, that's how much it costs because of time and labor and materials. So I didn't even get into that business venture. So after all those failed crafting ventures, I found something that there's already a system in place. The business is already set up. I just do the fun part, which is being social, getting out in front of people and sharing my experience with products.
Mm-hmm. So what was your idea when you were going through that? Was it just to make a little more money every month, or was it to replace your income at that point, or what were you really trying to pursue?
When I was doing the crafting stuff, it was more or less, I wanted a hobby and I wanted to be able to make money doing it. Because I felt Joe was at that time still in his miserable job, and the crafting and doing something that I enjoyed after I was done at my crappy job made me feel a little bit happier, because at least I know I got to come home and do something I enjoyed. If I didn't enjoy what I was doing at my job, at least I could come home and do something I enjoyed. And maybe I can make some extra money doing it. But then it got to a point where it was getting frustrating to Joe and myself, because we quickly realized that I was spending more money than I was making.
Hi, cat.
That's our cat. And it was taking up a lot of time away from us spending time together. So that kind of just failed. And I was feeling frustrated because I hated my job. I wasn't making any extra income. I was never going to get a raise at that job.
Mhm.
I'd been there 4 years and had not once gotten a raise, because although my boss made sure to tell me every 6 months at my review, well, I'm recommending you for the highest possible raise, but you're not going to get it because no one's getting a raise. They
Mhm.
haven't seen a raise in that company in 8 years.
Now, is that typical of nonprofits?
Yes, right now it is, especially that agency. I left that agency now going on almost a year and a half, 2 years now almost.
Mhm.
And they've gone downhill because of changes with Medicaid and billing. And so they've lost a lot of their income source.
Mhm.
And so they can't, for the longest time, we were super in the red, like almost ready to shut down. We actually had to go on a 2-week furlough, and everybody took a week off without pay.
Mhm.
And so it took us 3 out of the 4 years that I was there to get out of the red and back in the black. And a year after I left, they were back in the red. So it's very typical in nonprofits. You're not going to see a raise.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. So you and Joe were both seeing this situation of Joe's in a miserable job, you're having a hard time, you're not fulfilled, your job's not paying you what you're worth.
Yeah.
Was he pretty supportive of you trying to find these extra ways to make more money?
He was, to an extent, as long as it made sense, as long as it was logical. But once it became pretty obvious that like the different ventures were costing more than I was making, because he's somebody who can keep books and look at profits and losses and everything. And I was just kind of like, look, I made $25. Okay, yes, but that $25 cost you $23 to make. So you only made $2. Like,
Yeah.
well, I burst my bubble. But he was supportive, but he was also very logical about it, which was good because I needed that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So so that transpired then into your It Works. So
Yes.
how did that start out when you kind of said, I want to give this a try?
Basically I talked to my cousin about it, and she wanted to know how I liked the wrap she gave me to try, and I was like, oh yeah, it's fine, but actually I'm really interested in the business. And she was, oh, okay. So I just need to talk to Joe about it, because it was a $99 investment, and so at that time we were really watching our budget. So I told Joe, I'm like, look, I know we don't have the money in the bank account, but I'm willing to charge it on the credit card, and I promise I will pay it off ASAP. I really think there's potential in this. Tavia is paying for an entire house with this business. I'm pretty sure I can pay back the $99 on the credit card pretty fast. He said, okay, if you think it's worth the chance, then it's $99. Let's do it. So he was really supportive of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how that started. I was like, all right, Tavia, let's do it. $99. Got started, and I made, if I remember correctly, 3 times that in my first month.
Wow. So you just took off. It wasn't something that you had to, well, I'll pay it off next month. You like actually paid it back right away.
Yeah, I was really motivated. We call it ignorance on fire.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what I was doing with this business. When I see my Facebook memories pop up, and it's like, here's what you posted on this day 2 years ago. And it's like when I first started the business, I'm like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking?
Mm-hmm.
But I was so excited. I was going live on my Facebook like every night. Like, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but look at this. But I was so excited about it that it didn't matter. And I was messaging everybody I knew, talking to all of my friends, my coworkers, my family. My mom was my first customer. So, I just called her up and said, Mom, I started this business and you're going to be my first customer. Okay? Okay. That's how it was.
Uh-huh. So was that like an atypical start, or did it just grow from there right away, or did you stumble after that, or how did that journey?
It definitely has it has its ups and downs. I feel that any business does, whether it's real estate, whether it's an MLM, any kind of business is going to have its ups and downs. I think for me, it started with an up because I was so excited about it and I could see the potential it had. I was super optimistic. I'm going to hit the diamond rank bonus, which is the, let's see, distributor, executive, ruby, emerald, diamond. Diamond is technically the fifth rank in the company.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time when I first started, if you hit diamond in your first 6 months, you got a $10,000 bonus.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to get that. And, you know, Tavia, of course, might be my upline, was very optimistic. Yeah, we're going to go for that bonus. You're going to get it. I did not hit diamond. I did not make that bonus. And I will be honest, it was a big letdown.
Really?
I felt defeated because I'm like, oh, I told myself I was going to do this by February and I didn't do it. And I think Joe was more disappointed even than I was, because I was like, I'm going to get that $10,000 bonus and we're going to get you out of your job. It's going to be amazing. But the difference between he and I is I can be super optimistic, but in the back of my head, I know the realistic aspect of it. When I say something really optimistic to him, he's logical. If I say this is what's going to happen, that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then it didn't.
So he took it as gold, and you were still hopeful and not.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of it like, yeah, I'm going to hit diamond, but although I know realistically that if I don't, it'll be okay. So it definitely took time to grow in this business and find my footing and find what works. I think with network marketing, that's what's important, is you have to give yourself time. Less than 1% of the people who start in this business stick with it and make it to the rank that I'm at.
Wow. So what is that type of like time frame for falling off?
Usually 6 months or less.
Wow. 99% loss in 6 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
99% of people fall off or don't really stay active in their business after 6 months of trying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing, is a lot of people, they watch people like Tavia or people that are high up in this kind of business, and they see them making thousands and thousands a month and doing really great in their business. And they just think, oh, okay, I'll sign up under them. I'll post what they post, and then I'll be doing just as well as them. But it's not how it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of self-development that goes on in the background and learning the business. And I'm constantly watching YouTube videos and trainings. I'm getting on Zoom calls with top leaders in the business. I'm constantly self-developing and learning and teaching myself new things about MLM and networking so that I can grow my business.
Mm-hmm.
So the first month, yeah, I made back my investment 3 times
mm-hmm.
in my first month. The few months later, I barely made $50 that month.
Mm.
But then my first diamond paycheck, I made over $1,800.
Wow.
So it has its ups and downs, but what business doesn't?
Yeah. So even though you missed that diamond in the first 6 months and missed that great big bonus, you were still bringing in some money at that point.
Yeah.
It may not have been as big as you were hoping, but you were still bringing something in, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
I've never had a month where I didn't bring in money.
Oh, man, applaud you for that. But how was that changing your dynamic for what you and Joe were trying to achieve with him and his job, and you still not in the job you were enjoying?
It definitely decreased our stress, because there had been months where, for me, my biggest thing was that student loan. Student loans for me is something that it weighs over me like the friggin' weight of the world. And I'm constantly always thinking, oh gosh, that debt is just hanging there, and I hate that feeling. So my goal with the business was I'm going to make enough money that I am able to pay my student loan payment every month. So that bill is taken off our shoulders. So it's one less bill that Joe has to worry about coming out of his paycheck or mine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I committed to and have stuck to now for over 1.5 years.
Wow.
Is that every month my income from it works is enough to pay for my student loans, which, 2 years ago was like 150 to anywhere from 150 to 250 a month. And then it was 350. Now it's 500 a month. So that's what I make sure every month that business pays for my student loans. And so that took a really big weight off of us.
That's impressive. So I want to go back to what you were saying at the beginning, that you couldn't leave the job that you despised a big chunk of that being because of the student loans.
Yeah.
And so a $99 investment got you to the point where now you can make that payment through your It Works every single month.
And that's been for me like the biggest, I feel, accomplishment for me in my business is knowing that I've been able to pay off 3 of my student loans so far with this business. I'm going through the I believe it's Dave Ramsey method of pay off the smallest loan first and you snowball it into the larger ones. So I start off with my lowest loan. I paid it off. Next loan. So I'm on my 4th loan. And for me, that's like, I've paid off 3 loans. Like, I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, no, that is wonderful. I'm like more happy inside than I'm able to express. That's really cool. So what's going forward from that point now? Like, did that set the stage for you to leave that job?
Yeah, it did. It really opened up my options because then I could start looking at for-profit or at least better paying nonprofits to try out. I got a new job and I worked at Alliance Community Hospital for a year and tried out something different in medical social work, thinking maybe just a change in the type of social work would help with the burnout. And that was kind of an experiment for me was, okay, I still want to be a social worker, but maybe I just don't want to be a clinical counseling social worker anymore. I'll try something different. And I tried medical social work for a year. Not my groove, not my niche, but it was an experiment. I gave it a year, and a little after a year of being there, found a new position, and it's actually a work from home health insurance company. So it works perfect.
And you're in your experiment with the medical social work, was that still just more of the same in a different venue that you didn't like it, or what was?
It was the medical field. This is where I started to see more of a dissatisfaction with the whole rat race mentality of corporate America. And it's what really started to motivate me towards wanting to just be done with having an employer and working towards that goal. Is, my previous job, while I hated the job itself, I absolutely loved the people I worked with. That was my golden handcuff at that job, was that I loved the people I worked with. It's a great group of people. You couldn't have asked for a better work environment. However, the work itself sucked. The hospital job, the people sucked, and so did the job. Medical social work wasn't my thing. It was kind of boring. And the hospital had some really messed up ideas of what they think they expect from you as far as an employee. Like paid time off was your paid time off and your sick time was all in one bucket. But you couldn't access your sick time until you used up your PTO. So if you got the flu and you only had, say you had vacation planned for 2 months from now, but you got the flu and you have to stay home because you have influenza B, you can't go to work with that. You have to use at least 3 days of your paid time off first before you're allowed to access your sick time. Well, now you just used up 3 out of the 5 vacation days we're going to use 2 months from now. And unless you somehow know how to miraculously make 3 vacation days appear in 2 months, you're out your vacation time.
Yeah. So it's like, hey boss, I got this vacation coming up. I'm going to be sick in about 3 weeks. So
yeah, like they have that expectation. They're like, well, this is so people don't abuse paid time off. Like, you guys have the wrong mentality. It's not an abuse to use your paid time off. You should use your paid time off. Like, there have been people there that are like, well, I've worked here 25 years. I have 12 weeks of vacation time banked up. I'm like, and you're celebrating that? Like, for me, I just saw it as, this is a job, not my life. And they saw it as, this job should be your life. And I didn't agree with that. So the mentality of the hospital wasn't for me.
Gotcha. So I guess circling back around to student loans again, since that set the stage for getting out of that, that was just because the now going into the private sector out of the nonprofit sector, you didn't have that student loan forgiveness there. So then to transition from the hospital into something else, it wasn't as big of a weight hanging over your head. Is that right?
Well, actually, the hospital was nonprofit because it was a small local community hospital, and I was part of their community program. So I technically was still a nonprofit, but even then, the student loan payments were going up and how much I needed to pay every month, because with the student loan forgiveness program, they ask you to submit your W-2s and your tax and everything every year. If your income increases, then so does your payment.
Mm-hmm.
So because our income had been going up due to Joe's business, on paper it says you make this much money, so you should have to pay us this much,
Mm-hmm.
even though paper and reality aren't always the same. So my payments were actually going up despite my pay not really going up. So that's where ItWorks really started kicking in even more, because,
Mm-hmm.
well, I was only having to pay $300. Now I have to pay $500 a month. So got to keep my business going so that I can pay that.
Wow. So did you just keep trying to grow the ItWorks to reach like another level of, if I reach this while I'm working at the hospital, I can reduce hours, or what did you have in mind for what you were trying to reach your goal for that?
My goal prior to finding the job that I'm in now was if I could make a consistent $5,000 a month for 6 months straight. That was my own personal, because with a network marketing business, it can be up and down. I wanted consistency. 6 months straight of a consistent $5,000 a month income, and then I was going to be able to quit my job completely without having another job in place. So that was my goal that I was working towards, was that $5,000 a month, 6 months straight.
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate enough to find a position with a for-profit job that pays almost twice what I was making before.
Wow.
So I don't have as much pressure to get my business to that point, but that is still my goal, to be making that $5,000 a month with my business. Mainly because I want us to be completely debt-free by like 2022 is when I'm looking to completely pay off everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know that's a possibility. I know that's definitely within reach. My team is really growing, and we're finally in a good groove and a good momentum, and I'm building a strong team now. So I'm really excited to see where it's going. But that was my goal ultimately, was to get to that $5,000 a month.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you're consistently hitting in the four figures anyway, mm-hmm. right? So to be able to have that $5,000 or $5,000 goal, you must be hitting that pretty regular now.
Yeah, and actually, what's really great about our business is that our CEO, Mark Pentecost, we've been a company for going on 20 years now. You're going to be really hard pressed to find any network marketing company that's been around for that long. And we're consistently growing every year. We're actually on the verge of becoming $1 billion company now.
Wow.
And we are a completely debt-free company. So that's a really awesome thing, is that because we're debt-free, our CEO loves to spoil us. And so we get new bonuses every year. Mm-hmm. And so when I did hit diamond rank this past spring, I did get a $10,000 bonus.
Wow.
So we have our annual conference at the end of this month, and I'm so excited for it, because they'll be announcing the new bonuses. And I have heard whispers that they're going to possibly double what they were the previous year, which would mean for my next rank would be a $30,000 bonus.
Whew.
And I'm really excited about that.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. So you must be selling everything in the kitchen sink.
I try to.
So this ItWorks it's pretty close to just absolutely providing for everything that you're doing in your day job, and you're on fire with it and you're loving it. Are you planning to stay in the job that you're working at now that you're making double what you were used to and supplement it with the it work still, or are you still planning on stepping away?
To be honest, it's hard to say because with it being a work from home job, it kind of works with our life right now. Ideally, I would like to eventually be completely done with all like employer-based jobs, just because I like to have my own schedule, and that would be really nice. But it would also be hard to turn down that kind of money. So it's kind of a golden handcuff situation there. But at least right now, I'm much more satisfied and happy with that position because it does give me the freedom to still work my business, be at home, and have a much better work-life balance than what I had before. And I'm not burnt out like I was with my old jobs. So the goal, though, is that I would like for It Works to be my sole business. So that's our plan.
It's awesome to see kind of as this story's coming out in this in these last several minutes of you. It wasn't so much of get out of your job golden handcuffs so much that you've now allowed yourself the freedom to choose and make that choice.
Yes.
And that's a completely different situation. That's a lot more powerful. You have the power now that you're not a servant to the situation that you had gotten into.
Yes, exactly. And that's, I think for me, something that a book that Joe had me read years ago when I think we might have still just been dating, or maybe we were just engaged, and we were having fights about finances because I just didn't understand the real estate business. It did not make sense to me. Like, but you're not making any money. Like, you're spending all this money, but I didn't understand the concept of investing and growing your money. And he had me read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And for someone like me who I have a hard time finishing a book because I'll probably fall asleep if it doesn't interest me. Like, if it's not Hunger Games, I'm probably not going to finish it. So I read that book, and it was really eye-opening to help me understand that money is either going to be your master or it's going to be your servant. And changing my money mindset that I'm going to make my money work for me so that I have more options. That has been a life-changing concept for me, because now it's not, I know that money can't buy us happiness, but it's going to give us options that we can travel when we want. We can buy the house that we want. We can live as a full-time family because it's what we want to do, and money's not a factor. We don't have to worry about, I got to go work overtime this weekend, or I can't get off that week because the boss doesn't approve the time. Like, money gives us options. And so I'm going to make my money work for me. So that $99 investment for me was the smartest decision I've ever made.
Yeah. You've now put yourself in a position where that $99 essentially bought you your freedom.
Exactly.
That is incredible. That's a success story if I've ever heard one.
Well, thank you. I'm trying.
So now looking back on that, what do you see as how your experience and your situation, how did that play a role in shaping up to get you to this point? Do you think you could have had this perspective on this freedom without having to first go through the struggle?
No, I don't think I could have. I feel like, if I'm understanding the question correctly, do I feel like I could be where I'm at without having to have all the struggles and experiments and everything I've gone through?
Yeah.
I don't think so, because I feel like the tries and the failures and the getting back up and trying something new and failing again and trying again, those are experiences that taught me things. I learned that clinical social work burns me out. I love helping people, but I like doing it on a volunteer basis. Crafting, I love doing it for a hobby for myself, but it's not profitable. So I had to learn those things, because if I didn't, then I'd always be wondering, well, what if I did this, or what if I had done that? Like, I think it's important to go through experiments. It's important to try different things, because you're always going to have that what if question going on in the back of your head. And you learn more from your failures than you do your successes. Mm-hmm. So I feel like those struggles that I've gone through, and that Joe and I have gone through with our finances and golden handcuffs of different types, has developed me into the person that I am and has developed me into the business owner that I am.
That's awesome. And it sounds like it's also helped you and Joe to have like relational improvements with it
Oh,
too,
yeah.
of talking about like, hey, here's our struggles that we're going through. How are we going to overcome the situation?
Yeah. I'd have to say through the coaching we received, helping us to get on the same page about finances and how we should handle them, and that Joe's a numbers person. I'm not. He handles the actual finances and everything, but learning to bring our money together, and that it's for Team Michael, not his and mine. It's coming together. And so I think all of these struggles that we've gone through, not only for our businesses, but for ourselves, is what's brought us closer in our marriage and be able to communicate better about our finances and our vision and our goals for our life and what we want our life to look like. I think that's something that a lot of couples, they don't sit down and talk about a vision and, you know, how they want their life to look. They just kind of go.
Yeah. So you're winning with money, you're winning with your relationships, and what more could you ask for?
Exactly.
So what kind of lessons do you think that you've learned now that you would advise someone that was in that similar situation to do or to avoid?
If you're young and you haven't started college yet and you're listening, college is not always the answer. Be wise about what you choose to study, because I think if I had it to do over, I probably would have chosen something very different to study, or possibly not even done college at all because the student loan debt. Or if you want to go to college, do a community college, pay as you go, take 6 years to get your degree if you need to. It's not worth it for the student loan debt. So if you're young and haven't started college yet, that's my biggest thing there. If you're unhappy with the work you're in, give yourself some grace to have an experiment. Try a different path in your career. Don't be afraid to try and to fail, because the only way you're going to fail is if you, one, don't try, and you just completely give up on yourself and allow yourself to be miserable. You're only going to fail in that way. A success would be, I consider my experiment of working at the hospital to be a success because I learned from it. I consider my efforts with the crafting things a success because I learned from it. It wasn't the right fit. So give yourself some grace to try new things and see what works. Be a little bit like Joe and write out a list of all the things that, you know, what jobs have you had? What did you love about those jobs? What did you hate about those jobs? Now, what kind of job would combine the list of all the things you liked about what you've done? Because that's kind of what I did when I was trying to find something else to do was, well, I like helping people. I like doing this. I like being social. And when I compare the list of what I've liked about all my previous jobs and what I like about my business, they align perfectly. So that would be something I would encourage doing.
That's awesome.
Make that list.
That's awesome. I really like your line about give yourself some grace, because I think that's so important. That if you don't, then you're just going to be stressing about it. And when you stress about it, that takes away the creativity and then puts you in a bad state that then just you can't make those decisions that give you that life and that freedom. So I love that. So you talked a little bit about vision. What's your vision for what you're doing next?
Vision right now is my next goal is this year, 2020. My vision is going mortgage free, and as a result of my business. So that's my biggest vision right now is just mortgage free by the end of 2020, so that we can start planning our life for our new home and be able to work my own schedule. I don't have an end date yet at this point for being out of my current position with my current job, because I'm actually okay with it right now. But for me, the biggest thing is growing my business to reach and help change as many lives as possible, because you were right in saying that $99 bought me my freedom. And I feel like so many other people need that in their life. And this business can really be for anybody. So my goal and vision is to be able to help change as many lives as possible with that $99 freedom.
That is incredible. I love that. Because it's not just about the making more money. It's, yeah, that money helped you, but it put you into a position that you would have struggled to reach otherwise.
Absolutely.
For $99, and I mean, waste more than that on cell phone bill or cable bill.
Yeah. Heck, tell any girl to go into Target, you know, they can waste $99, no problem.
Before they get past the Starbucks.
Man, that little aisle at the very beginning with all the fun things for like 3 and 5 and 7. Oh yeah, you can easily spend $99 there.
So what's one book that would change someone's life?
I'd have to say for me, one, and even if you don't do network marketing, I think a book, okay, I'm gonna have to say two actually. It's called The Four Color Personalities by Tom Big Al Schrader. And it talks about, I mentioned earlier, Joe being a green personality. The Four Color Personalities is just a very broad way of looking at the different types of people you interact with. And not only does it help with business if you're into any kind of sales, but I really feel that it helps with understanding people in general and helps with communication and how you approach relational issues. I realized that at my hospital job, I worked with a lot of red personalities. Red personalities are very take charge, get shit done. They just want to like bulldoze ahead. And sometimes they can come across really intense and they can come off as jerks sometimes, depending on the red. So I am a yellow blue. Yellows are sensitive and they just want to help and love everybody. They put everybody before themselves. And blues are just like, woohoo, fun, squirrel, like attention span of a gnat, you know. And I'm a yellow blue and Joe is a green red, mostly like 99% green, which is analytical and logical. Yep. So for me, that book totally changed the game in understanding how I approach my business when it comes to potential customers and potential team members. And then it also changed how I worked with people in my work environment. And the second book, I would say, is one that it's more of a personal life-changing book, is The 5 Love Languages. That book to this day helps in my marriage because focusing on my husband's love languages and him focusing on mine, and then checking in with each other on, hey, are you feeling like your love language is being fulfilled? Have we spent enough quality time together? Have I been doing enough service things for you? Like, for me, that book is awesome.
Yeah, those are both great books. Like, my wife and I, we're not in MLMs, but we still listen to that book and on the color personalities. And you know, I'm a red and my wife's a yellow, and that's like a big clash. And when we kind of realized like this is how you actually work with those personalities to communicate, it's like, oh, we're saying the same thing, but we're using different words and it's not working. So like you mentioned the help with the yellows, that was a key. I was like, okay, I gotta use the word help when I am trying to communicate this. And it really transformed the way we were able to communicate about our business. So.
To a yellow, a red can be really intimidating, or they can be really inspiring. It all depends on their tone and how they come across with things, because a red will be like, well, why don't you just do this? But yellow is just like, why are you yelling at me? So it really does help in understanding personalities and getting along better, because like I said, I'm a yellow blue. I'm almost exactly the same in my levels of yellow and blue. And Joe is like almost all green. And so he's very analytical, logical, give me the details. I don't want no fluff. Don't be vague. I need details and it needs to be exact. And I'm just kind of like, we'll be there Tuesday around noonish. Like, no, it needs to be Tuesday at noon at this place. It has to be precise. So it's helped a
We're gonna
lot.
be there at 11:57.
Yeah, yes.
So we can walk inside by noon.
Exactly. That's how he is. And so it's helped reduce a lot of our fights because I'm like, okay, think of this from a green perspective. He wants all the details. He doesn't want to know how I was feeling or what that person was wearing or anything. He wants the facts. So it's helped cut out a lot of that.
Yeah, that's great. So what's a podcast that you can't live without?
Again, these ones are, I listen to a lot of MLM podcasts, but I listen to a lot of different things like John Maxwell, Rachel Hollis. There's one woman in our company that started a podcast recently, and I absolutely love her. And her podcast is Why the Hell Not by Jade Hooper. And she is just the most real person ever. Like her podcast I listened to today, it's like, is that a shower running in the background? And she goes, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm 100% coming to you right now from my shower. But I'm being real with you here. She goes, this is the only time I have in between running my business and having 3 kids. She goes, and I just had this really good thought while I was taking a shower, so I just decided to record now. Like, she's just so real. But I really relate to her, and she's, to me, really inspiring in not just in MLM, but just as a mom, as a woman, as a business person, as an entrepreneur. So I really love her podcast.
Okay, awesome. What would you like to promote? I was going to say, I wonder.
I wonder, yeah. But actually right now, I'm really excited. Our company is doing a really awesome movement called Lose More, Do More. And it is during the month of January, for every pound you lose, we donate $1, which is equal to 4 meals for Feed the Children. So you don't have to purchase anything or make a commitment to be a part of that movement. So even if you're like, well, I'm not really into using any supplements or products to help with my weight loss, that's fine. I'm a yellow. I just want to help feed all the babies. So if you are losing weight this month, then hit me up, find me on Facebook, Brenna Ann, A-N-N, and I can give you the information on how to log on to the site and track your weight loss. And for every pound lost, we donate 4 meals. My goal personally for my team is to help donate 1,000 meals this month.
1,000 meals.
Yes.
So what do you need to hit that 1,000 meals?
1,000 meals would be 250 pounds total lost.
Okay, so we got to find a couple of people to to lose here. So
yeah.
All right.
So that's, if you guys want to help with that movement, if you're looking to improve your health, lose weight, have better skin or hair, I can help with all of it.
Okay, so reach out to you at Facebook, Brenna Ann.
Yep.
All right, perfect. So what action should a viewer or listener take right now?
Just move, do something. Like if you're unhappy with where you're at, start looking at your options. Don't sit in your unhappiness for another day. Like take action. If you want something to change, you have to make a change. Definition of an insanity. You know, if you're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting to see a change, that's insanity. So make a change. Whether that's finding an MLM that works for you that you want to try, awesome. If that's start real estate, great, do that. If it's make your own t-shirt company, I don't know. Whatever it is, do that. Start making a change towards it.
I love it. I love it. All right. Thank you, Brenna.
Thanks, Reese.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a rating on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever platform you're listening on. If you want to see more, go to goldenhandcuffsguy.com, where you have access to my blog, my podcasts, and a bunch of other information to help you remove your golden handcuffs.